I'd like to introduce Dan Norris. He's the Mayor of the West of England Combined Authority, or what's called WECA. And in case you don't know what that means, he's responsible for the strategic governance of the West of England in the local authority areas of Bristol, Bath and North East Somerset and South Gloucestershire. In his manifesto, before he was elected mayor, he was brave enough to go against his own party line, saying, "I am opposed to the expansion of Bristol Airport." True to his word, a rare thing. True to his word, on being elected, he followed through on his promise and has consistently opposed Bristol Airport's expansion. I'd like to welcome to the stage Dan Norris, the Mayor of WECA.
Right, well, thank you very much for that very kind and generous introduction. It's really good to see you all, and I can see you're all cold. It's freezing today. So look, I'm going to do a bit of participation for the start off of my comments. So I'm going to ask you it's a question and answer, see if you can get the answer right. In the history of the planet, which countries have produced the most CO2, do you think? Stick some hands up, let's have a guess. Which countries do you think? So America, I can hear. Anywhere else? Here, okay. Anywhere else? Okay, well, the answer is, and this was given to me when I was a minister in the last Labour government. I was given these figures, and that was sort of 11 years ago, and I was told there was a climate emergency then. And by God, there's a climate emergency now. I was told that the biggest emitter in the history of the planet of CO2, number one was America. Number two was us, the UK. Would you believe this tiny, tiny set of islands is the second biggest emitter of CO2 emissions in the world? And I think third was China, if I've got that right. But the point is, we have contributed to the climate emergency in a huge way. We are morally bound, in my view, to be part of that solution. And that starts with what we do here in the West of England. We have set ourselves a very, very, very ambitious net zero target of 2030. That's going to be hard to achieve. And if Bristol Airport expands in the way that it wants to, it will drive a coach and horses through that commitment. And I don't believe that's what you want. I don't believe that's what the people of South Gloucestershire, Bath, North East Somerset or Bristol want. Now, a climate emergency. That means that I have to take my responsibility to deal with that as Metro Mayor, and you've heard some of the comments that were said before I came on. I brought it so that the Combined Authority changed its policy to be against the airport's expansion. Straight away, that was one of the first things I did. But look, it's more than what politicians do. You're going to do your bit to keep CO2 emissions down. I'm going to do my bit as an individual too. And you're also going to do your bit towards reducing CO2 emissions in your workplaces and the other activities that you undertake. And yet, Bristol Airport is asking for special treatment. When we're all going out of our way to reduce CO2 emissions, Bristol Airport wants to increase them, and increase them radically. CO2 emissions make up 8% of the UK's CO2 emissions. And they want to increase that at a time of climate emergency. Clearly unacceptable, clearly wrong, clearly needs to be sorted out. So, where do we go from here then? So, firstly, why has a local democracy been ignored? I just think that you made brilliant arguments in the inquiry, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of amazing arguments that persuaded, hopefully, the inspectors on a personal level, and yet they were unable to make the decision that was right and sensible, ignoring the will of the local people. So they ignored the excess CO2 that would arise from the expansion airport. They ignored the road congestion that would occur. They ignored the night flights and the extra noise. And they made false claims, Bristol Airport, on job creation. The logic of the decision that's just been made to Bristol Airport is if you're allowed to increase CO2 emissions and you argue that what matters is you create jobs irrespective of the environment, the next thing we'll be doing is reopening the pits in northeast Somerset. It's an absolutely illogical and mad way of viewing a climate emergency. So what I want to see happen is that our aerospace industry is brilliant in our region. It is going to create hydrogen fuel for the future, which will help with aviation. It is going to create lighter, stronger materials through composites, which is great. That'll be part of the solution. But it's not a solution that's going to arise tomorrow. It's going to be in many years' time. And until then, we have to do something about this climate emergency. So I want the airport decision to be overturned. That needs to be overturned. That means we need a government with a national aviation policy. The government has talked green, but talk is cheap. Actions are what is needed. The madness of making internal flights cheaper at the time of the COP conference, when rail fares are going up so fast, shows the truth about this government, in my view. It will say and do anything rather than act on the environment in a proper and meaningful way. You, the people, are ahead of the politicians on this. You have the wisdom. You are leading on this. And we have lots of debates in Bristol, quite rightly, for example, about Colston. And the lesson of that, in a sense, is we must look and think, what in the future will future generations think about us and the things we've done? And I am absolutely convinced they will look and say that we were terrible when it came to the environment. So we've got to do something about it now. So let's fight back. Let's engage with the Canadian pension funds, the teacher pension funds, and get them one round. Let's fight Bristol Airport's spin and greenwashing, because they've been absolutely despicable, frankly. And let's fight this government. In fact, let's go one better. Let's change this government and get back onto the environment and what matters. Thank you very much.